Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Uncut Gems with Slim. Y'all, I am so excited that you guys have been rocking with me since the launch of this podcast. If you are new here and you have not heard any episodes and this is your first episode, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm here to just help inspire you guys to fulfill your purpose and just sharing a whole bunch of gems that I've accumulated during my journey of life, and I just want to share it with you guys. And so yeah, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. And y'all, this episode today, we are concluding our first ever series called Bossed Up Gems with Slim, and I am super excited and proud of this series because it coincides with my beginner YouTuber series that's going on YouTube. And so I just wanted to make sure that I was connecting the two, so my people listening here on podcasts, even if you're not an entrepreneur, you can kind of get some gems that you can apply to your everyday life. But if you are an entrepreneur, it coincides with the YouTuber beginner series. And so make sure you guys head on over to my personal YouTube channel at Slim Reshae if you are interested in that series. And also go ahead over to the YouTube channel. If you are watching this on Uncut Gems with Slim, the YouTube channel, you have premium access, okay? You're getting the visual element. But if you are listening on podcasts, we also appreciate you for streaming. So without further ado, y'all, we're gonna get straight into this final episode for the Bossed Up Gems series. I could not talk about being an entrepreneur and starting a YouTube channel and all those different things without addressing money, making money, being a profitable entrepreneur, and just different things like that, because I feel like money is very important. Although it shouldn't be the reason why you pursue a thing, money is a part of being an entrepreneur. And so I just wanted to kind of share a few different things, and I'm doing it a little bit different this week. Usually you guys know I be reading from my notes because I don't want to miss no gems, but I'm gonna start just doing I have a few bullet points that I'll make sure I hit, but I want to flow with you guys and just have this genuine conversation. So it feels like, you talking to your homegirl and you getting this advice and you getting all this good information. So the title of today's episode is Negotiating Your Worth. And I feel like over the years, from day one, starting my YouTube channel and everything like that, and after I started, it started to become a profitable business, I always felt like when I pitched myself to a brand that I was sitting there negotiating my worth. And so I was trying to come up with, okay, how do I determine my worth in order to negotiate my worth? And I feel like this is a topic that's not specifically talked about that often, just because people are very protective about how much they charge, because they don't want other people, I guess, to kind of know how much they're being paid, because finances is a thing that people like to keep private and things like that. But I want to make sure that I'm sharing as much as I can with you guys and being real with you guys about the subject. So like I said, when you're starting off, you think when you go and you're pitching yourself to these brands, if you're not an influencer and you are just, you work in corporate America, when you go into your interview or you're pitching to your manager to negotiate your salary, I always thought I was in there negotiating my worth. But I really don't think you can negotiate your worth. You can't put a price tag on your worth. Literally, you cannot put a price tag on your worth because you're priceless. Literally, you are priceless. Now, the services and things that you are providing, you can put a price tag on that. And so I finished this book over the summer called The Success Commandments by Devon Franklin. And when I tell y'all, this is hands down probably my favorite book that I've read this year. Now, I ain't read a lot, so I ain't gonna make y'all feel like I just be reading books and stuff like that. I'm trying to do better, but this is one of the ones that I had to finish because it was so good. And in the book, he said, you get what you negotiate, not what you're worth. And that thing stuck with me. And it kind of shook me because I was like, yo, like, that's so true. Like, you literally get what you negotiate. I've gone into negotiation before not knowing, you know, a dog tail from a chicken bone. Child, I don't even know where that came from, but like, I've literally gone into negotiations not knowing anything. And sometimes, like, I've got a proposal from a brand, and then I would just like accept the proposal because it just seemed so good, right? But if you don't know better, you can't do better. And so as I started growing in this industry and everything like that, like, I learned, like, you have to negotiate with these brands, and you have to negotiate with your salary and things like that, because the brand is going to do what's cost efficient to them. When I first started my channel and I started to do like hair promotions, so like hair from AliExpress stores and things like that, like, I literally would only charge them like $100, and I get free hair. I'm like, I'm making $100 and I'm getting free bundles. Like, this is lit. You're literally getting what you negotiate or what you accept. And over time, I realized, like, girl, like, $100 is, for the amount of followers I had at the time, I really don't remember. Like, let's say I had like 30,000 subscribers, right? Like, $100 and some free bundles, that's ridiculous. And so they were getting over on me because I was just allowing them to, I thought, the offer they gave me was good, and I just accepted it. And so I didn't want to go too much on a tangent because that was just, that was just the introduction. But I wanted to just share with you guys, like, I struggled personally trying to figure out, like, how much I should charge a brand, and charging them appropriately. And I feel like for a long time, even now, like, there's times when I lowball myself and I don't negotiate what I'm worth. And so I come up short a lot of times. And so it takes time for you to kind of figure out things, because there's no correct dollar amount for what someone should charge for a service. I'm gonna keep saying this. You literally get paid what you negotiate or what you accept. And so with all of this being said, like, there's no price tag for your worth. Like, there is no price tag for your worth. And that's on period. That's on dot, okay? On dot. Period. Now, with this being said, that there's no price tag or no correct amount that you should charge for your services or for your products, yada, 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 there are guidelines in place that can help, like, steer you in the right direction when you're negotiating or trying to figure out how much you should charge for a certain service or product or things like that. And so this week's gem is to simply know what you're worth and negotiate accordingly. And so what I mean by that is you have to know that you are providing a good quality service, a good quality product. If you're, going in to negotiate your salary, you have to know that you're a great employee, you're a high quality employee, and that's what you're basing your negotiations on. So if you know, like, you gonna come in here and you're not gonna do your work, yada yada yada, then yeah, maybe you do need to take what they're offering. If they're like, oh, well, this is entry level, this is what our entry level salary is, then maybe if you're not gonna do the work and you just trying to get what you can get, then yeah, you might accept that. But if you know you're a good high quality employee, like, that's something you need to share with them. And when you're negotiating, you don't want to you always need to share, like, why, like, what they're getting for that price, I feel. Now, not always, you don't have to express it to a T, but for instance, one time I was negotiating my salary, and this is for a 9-to-5 job, so this can relate for people who are working in corporate America, 9-to-5, things like that. When I was negotiating with them, I was like, yeah, like, I understand what you're offering, but I'm a good quality employee. I'm gonna not only do the work, but I'm gonna do it to a level that you like you never seen. I'm creative, so I can add another aspect to this position. I can provide this. Like, I shared, like, this is what you're gonna get out of me, and so this is what I need from you. Like, and then from there, that's the whole part of negotiating. Y'all, I be rambling when I don't read. This is why I be reading. But hopefully y'all are getting something from this. But like, when you negotiate, it's literally a back and forth conversation until you come to a compromise. So yes, you might not get what you want, which is why sometimes you should know what you're worth, add tax, and negotiate accordingly so you can make up for that bumper. If they really want to work with you, they'll negotiate with you and tuck it in. So I just wanted to go ahead and ask myself a few questions, not a few questions, but just like what my top 3 tips are when it comes to negotiating. And I actually jotted down a few different things. And so my first thing when it comes to negotiating is to be confident in what you bring to the table. And that's like just another way of you knowing like the quality of work that you're bringing to the table, the quality of your service, the quality of your products. And honestly, like, if brands and businesses genuinely want to work with you, they will negotiate with you. They'll explore all the options available and move on from there and see what'll work best for both parties. Now, if they deny you with the quickness and like say they want you to promote this Sharpie for $50 and you're like, oh, well, that I actually charge $250. If they're like, okay, sorry, we can't work with you, maybe next time, and they just exit the conversation like that, then they really didn't want to work with you in the beginning. Because if they really wanted to work with Slim Reshae, if they really wanted to work with you, they would have at least given you an opportunity or proposed the opportunity to negotiate. But if they don't negotiate at all and they just like cut you off with the quickness, they're like, yeah, no, like, I'm sorry, we can't work with you at this moment or whatever. If they just do that, then 9 times out of 10 they really didn't want to work with you in the first place. And a lot of times they will come back, and once they come back, if your price doesn't increase, then your price increase and they just SOL. But I just wanted to make sure you guys know, like, my first tip is to be confident in what you bring to the table and know your worth. Like, know that you are that girl, you are that guy, and you bring quality to the table. And if you don't bring quality, then that's something you're gonna have to work on, okay? Because you can't come to the table looking like a trash can lid and they looking for, fine china, okay? So yes, be confident in what you bring to the table. My second tip was, don't be afraid to ask or do your research so that you know you're in the ballpark. So when it comes to like your salary, my very first time, my first job out of college, negotiating my salary, I was like, I don't know. Like, they asked me like what was I looking for, and in my head I was like, I don't know. And so I looked it up. I looked up like the job field, the area, because the cost of living is different everywhere. So if this is a 9-to-5 job you're looking at, like, look at the job title, what jobs in that position in your area typically go for, and that'll give you a ballpark range for where you should start negotiating at if they don't give you like a said amount in the job description. And then another thing you can do is ask the people you are negotiating with. So not saying like, hey, well, what do you want to pay me? Like, if you're working with a brand or something like that, you can ask, well, hey, what's your budget for this project? And then they can share with you the budget, and from there you can be like, oh, well, I actually, yes, that's doable. Or you could be like, oh, well, that actually is a lot lower than what I typically charge, or whatever. So don't be afraid to ask and or do your research to kind of figure out the ballpark that you need to be in when it comes to negotiating. You don't want to just shoot your shot blindly, because if you got 10,000 followers, and not even 10,000, say if you got like 3,000 followers and you reach out to a brand and you're like, hey, I can make this content for you. It's going to cost you $1,000. they probably gonna look at you sideways, like, do you even know what your engagement rate is? Like, are you new to this or are you true to this? Like, they're gonna ask you. They're probably not even gonna respond. So that's why you don't want to just shoot blindly, because you might shoot yourself in the foot. Because then, like, if I went to somebody and I was like, yeah, it's gonna cost you $100,000 for that, for one Instagram post, they would not respond, or they probably look at me like I'm boo boo the fool, okay? And at that point, literally, you probably lose that relationship with the brand. Now, to maintain a relationship with a brand you might not be in their budget at the time, you can share like, hey, I really want to work with you guys. Recently, I had a clothing brand reach out to me, and they wanted to work with me, but they wanted to do it on a gifting basis. And I was like, well, I don't do gifting. And I wanted to work with them, so I was like, well, you know what? If we do gifting, I can do one post for that. And for me, that's a lot of money I'm missing out on, because I would usually charge for something like that. And they were like, oh, I'm sorry, like right now, like, it's the offer we provided at first about the gifting, or basically that or nothing. They didn't say it like that, but they were like, oh, right now the only offer we have is that. And I was like, oh, well, I appreciate it. Yes, I would really like to work with you guys in the future. Please feel free to reach out to me when your budget increases. And that's okay to do. So don't be afraid to delay a partnership if they don't have the funds at the moment, because sometimes it is like that. We're in a pandemic right now, so a lot of brands don't have excess money to spend if it's out of budget or whatever. So those are just different options there. And then my last tip would be, I have a few rules of thumb. So the first one is, if they automatically accept your rate that you propose, or if they automatically accept like your proposed salary, it's too low. And the reason why I say that is because if it's easy to accept, then you're not charging enough. And I learned that the hard way, because I was thinking like, oh my God, like they accepted this, they accepted that. But I'm like, if everyone's just accepting it, that means it's too low. Like, they not even trying to bring me to the negotiation table, because the proposed rate that I gave them is already under their budget. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like a sign that you can adhere to if you've been like negotiating with people and everyone's like, oh, that's great, that's great, that's great. If you're not getting any like pushback, then you might need to, reevaluate your rates, or reevaluate how much you think you should charge, or your salary. And then that goes both ways. So if you automatically accept someone's rate or someone's proposed salary, like, don't be afraid to negotiate, because you might be cutting yourself short. And so I want to say, like, don't automatically accept, always negotiate. You will see some improvement as far as like the deals or your salary. Like, you will surprise yourself. Like, people are out here legit paying people, okay? And you don't know until you ask. Like, you don't know until you ask. And it might not be money specifically. It might be like, hey, I need time off. In the book, Devon Franklin talked about like observing the Sabbath in Hollywood, and he was saying how like that was something that he had to be confident. Okay, back to tip one, be confident in what he was bringing to the table, that he would be able to get his work done and everything, while his job honored him observing the Sabbath, or having Sunday off, or whatever day you observe Sabbath, Sunday or Saturday. So that's my first rule of thumb. And the last tip that I have, and my second rule of thumb, is to always, always, always read over your contracts in its entirety. Ask questions so you don't sign something that you don't comprehend. And it's okay to ask the people who sent you the contract for clarification. That's what they're there for. Like, if you don't understand it, ask for clarification. Google it. Ask one of your friends who might be in law school or something. Like, ask, because you can like really do damage if you just signing contracts that you don't understand. And you can also cut yourself short. And that's a conversation for a whole nother talk, or a whole nother YouTube video or something. But I did want to come on here and share with you those tips. And then last but not least, I know this was a little bit longer than I anticipated, but like I said, I didn't go off my notes, so girl, we free balling today. As I wrap up, I've been asking every guest on the Bossed Up Gems series one question, and that is, if you could give yourself one piece of advice at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, what would it be? And y'all, I was like, what would I tell Slim Reshae at the beginning of my journey? And I think the one thing that I would tell myself is don't doubt. I have to remind myself all the time, like, don't doubt. Like, you are creative, you are ambitious, you are a go-getter, and you can do it. You know you can do it, okay? I will also tell Slim Reshae at the beginning to rely on yourself as a source of inspiration and always reflect on your progress, because I feel like sometimes, as far as the beginning and my growth in this journey, like sometimes I would lose sight of how far I've come, and so that's why I always tell people, like, when I'm not inspired or I'm having a creative block, I'll go back and look at my old videos, look at my old content, and one, it would inspire me because I'd be like, oh my gosh, like, girl, that was a bomb video, like, you did that, or girl, your makeup look good, like, you did that, and that will hype me up in itself. It's like, girl, you done did this before. It ain't nothing new. The only thing new is you done improved, so you really can do this. And two, it also shows me like how far I've come, because a lot of times, like, we're grateful for the position we're in, but we don't realize how grateful we should be because we're not looking in the rearview mirror, or we're not looking at where we've come from. So I think it's always important to like look back on your progress. And then the last thing I would say is to not seek validation from the numbers and focus solely on putting out content that you are most proud of. Keep dreaming and keep doing. So that's the last thing I would tell myself, like, don't seek validation in the numbers, because you're going to be disappointed every time. Because literally, content creating entrepreneur is always like a roller coaster journey. It's not going to just be like a like, there's going to be some downs, there's going to be a lot of highs, some lows, and you just have to roll with the punches. But know, like, okay, Slim, you are putting out quality content, and at the end of the day, if I'm putting out quality content that I'm proud of, that's the goal. Like, that's it right there. If people don't like it, or it doesn't have as many views as much as I feel like it should have, like, that shouldn't make me feel like my work was less quality than it really was. And so just be proud of the content that you put out there. And that's really all I got, y'all. Know your worth and negotiate accordingly. And so, again, I do want to plug the Beginner YouTuber series. Right now we have 2 videos out, and I'm working on a few more that'll be going out. So over time, this Beginner YouTuber series will grow, and there will be like a beginner situation, a little intermediate situation, and then going into like where I am now in my journey and sharing with you guys. So if there's any influencers who may be on the same like level as me, that I can share with you guys, like, you know, the tips and tricks that I'm using and utilizing. And so it can just help people at every level. So that's what that series is about on YouTube. I also want to thank again all of my guests for the Bossed Up Gems series, Miss Lachey Price, Bev, and Alexis Crown. I'm so thankful to have those ladies come and grace the podcast, y'all. And that was just a little sip, okay? I have a lot of other people in mind that I would love to have on the show. So we'll do some more people on the show. But that is all I got, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed today's episode, and until next time. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast, and feel free to connect with me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Slim Reshae. That's SlimReshae. Links will be listed in the show notes, and until next time, love yourself and be beautiful. When you're bad, when you need to find